biggest obstacles that you've had to overcome in your life, and what pushed you to even want to get over them?
Okay. Oh gosh, I love this question. So I'm going to start with the last part of that, which is what pushes you to get over them. And here's what I think is so fascinating about humanity is that we are all wired to succeed, right? It's just nature. Like nature wants all of us to be more. Nature wants a little birdie to fly and leave the nest. Nature wants a fish to swim. Like we are programmed, right? We have in our DNA. So I decided a long time ago, what I noticed is that I think we all come in with me, or we are born, but we all come in with particular programming, right? We are already programmed, and we call that DNA. But that's what it is. It's programming, and so that comes from generations and other lifetimes and other life experiences. Like I have DNA from my grandparents and their parents, and so on and so on. So all of that actually contributes a great deal to who I be and how I break through and manage any part of my life. And then there's all that conditions and circumstance that is the rest of the 50% that contributes greatly to my perspective and how I see the world and how I do things like overcome challenges or even manage success, which can be interpreted as a challenge as well. So it shows up quite frequently in our journey. We just don't really think about it or manage it that way or digest it that way, but that really is what's occurring. So for me, I mentioned to you earlier that I discovered personal development when I was 28 years old, and I was suicidal and very dark and in a really awful time of my life, which had been going on for quite a long time. And once I was set on that road and had these awarenesses that no matter what had gone before, I was now responsible. It was now my choice. It didn't matter what my mom said or did or whatever. It's up to me to kick the ball forward, right? So since then, I've been on this ongoing journey of what does that look like? And it looks different along the way. It doesn't look the same today as it did 30 years ago. It doesn't look the same for most of us as it did a year ago. So we're always taking that on if we choose to be a leader of our life. And I do choose that.
So, what keeps you from sabotaging your own success?
Well, I didn't say that I didn't sabotage my own success. But what happens is we can sabotage our own success, but when we're committed to this growth, we are able to notice it sooner. We're able to flip the switch on that sort of toxic direction. We're able to identify patterns and have a deeper awareness because we're operating from a place of internal guidance rather than external, what would I call that?
Forces, energy?
External forces and approval. Like I don't need approval, right? I don't need anyone else to. I'm steering my own ship. So what does that look like? And if I do sabotage, which I am human and I do, then I have to have some sort of system. And really, it's more of just becoming highly, highly, highly sensitized to that, so that my own warning signals go off, and I realize, oh goodness, I'm getting into this well-worn path. I always think of it as like when you walk across a lawn and not on the sidewalk, and eventually, that path wears thin. So unless you start walking somewhere else, that grass can't grow back. Well, that's the same as neural pathways. So we get to choose if we're creating new neural pathways or wearing a path in our old neural pathways. And I choose new neural pathways. And first, it's a choice, it's a decision, right?
Yeah, and you said that you were suicidal. That's quite a space to come from feeling suicidal to actually moving on. Because I know I deal with a lot of women, they're kind of stuck. So my question is, how did you get out of that? I mean, was somebody pushed you into it, or was it what made you say, I'm worth living.
Yeah. So there's a definite, for me, there's a big distinction between being stuck and being suicidal. I think we often, we all get stuck.
Oh, yeah.
So again, we get to choose, and we get to notice and then choose. And being stuck is actually a wonderful flag, because what it shows us is that if we are stuck, to me, it means that we are a couple of things. One is we are on the precipice of a transition. So we live in a society and a time where stuck is a bad word. But what if that wasn't the case? What if stuck was really your soul crying that you need a change, and that you're, if anything, just sort of peeling yourself back from the edge out of fear or a story that you made up that doesn't serve you? So what if you flipped that to be curious about, okay, so now what's opening for me now? Why am I stuck? Like, I've had stuck moments throughout my career, which have allowed me to evolve and shift into something completely different. I mean, I had no idea I would be doing what I do today 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or yep, right. It's just, if we are willing to listen to our heart and follow, at the risk of failing, because we don't know what we don't know, then that will get us unstuck. For me, the shift really happened in a work. I did a personal development, my first personal development course, when I was 28 years old. And I know it sounds crazy, but in the span of 2 weekends, it was just like this major light bulb went off, and I just got like, I was choosing. And who chooses to be suicidal? Who chooses to be stuck? Well, actually, we do. We choose it, because in any moment, at any juncture of our life, there's not a choice or this or that. There is a plethora. There's a million choices. There's this and that. I mean, think about perspective, right? Perspective is, I can stand here and see something, or I can be over here and see something. But if we don't open our little eyeballs, our peepers, and look, this, we can choose this or this, or there's a zillion choices. So we're always choosing, this or that, vanilla or chocolate. What would you, it's just, you choose. It's the same as falling in love. You could choose to fall in love with this person or that person. You decide. There's no like magic formula, but it's not the choosing, it's the committing and following through. And I became, in that weekend, committed to living differently. I became committed to seeing joy, to living joy. And it didn't happen overnight. It's a process. I'm still in it. I will never not be in it. Yeah.
That's what makes it so encouraging, though, because I know that a lot of women I deal with, what I mean is stuck, is that there's a negative noise in their brain. I always say, who's in your brain? It could be the father, the mother. What happens when you do something wrong? Who is really saying, oh, yeah, you spilled the milk, whoever.
Yeah. It's been very interesting for me, because in this political climate, I never heard the term gaslighting before. And I now have been seeing, through some interesting behaviors that are reminiscent of my family, that I have been in this situation, and the way it's affected me since I was probably 8 or 9 years old, which, interestingly enough, is when I started going into this dark, dark hole.
Now, what is gaslighting?
So gaslighting was taken from a movie. I think it's from the 50s.
Oh, that
or 60s.
old movie. Yeah, I remember. The husband
right.
was trying to convince her that she was nuts, and she really wasn't. And he did all these things to make her seem like she was crazy, and she doubted her sanity. It was really a good movie. That's it.
Well, it's a movie we're in right now, my dear. And and so what I've been seeing through that process of watching our country, the good old USA, fall into the space of being gaslit from all around. It happens all day, every day. I started to see some interesting parallels between what's happening out there and what happened in my little microcosm of a family. And yeah, it makes you kind of crazy, because there's this piece of you that has a knowing about yourself. And then you have all these messages that are messaging something completely different. Or in the morning, you're wonderful. And by lunchtime, you're a monster. And then, at break at 3 hours later, you're my sweet pet. And then later in the day, it's dizzying. So of course that makes an overly sensitive, highly sensitive, high achieving child a little nuts, because if you're trying to fit in and please and be and measure up to, it's impossible and it's exhausting. And so it's no surprise that it would lead you into this space of darkness, as it did for me. So the first place is to have some awareness of that. Now, I had no awareness of that when I started digging myself out of that hole. What I had an awareness of is that blaming it on my family, it wasn't useful. And taking responsibility for the direction of my life would alter everything. And I had this glimmer in that workshop, and that's been the path I've been on ever since.
So there was something that pushed you into that, just you had that pushed you, that ignited that in you. And I think that is so important to hear, for people to hear, that there is that something, whatever it is. I call it like my little angels. I mean, I've never been in a space in my life, wherever I've been in my life, where I haven't had somebody that just happens to be in my life that directs me. And it's just, okay. And it's just,
that's wonderful.
Really yeah, it really is, isn't it though?
Lucky you. Yeah.
And,
well, I think, a lot of people don't have an awareness of their angels.
There you go. I mean, I'm very sensitive to that, just with the background that I've done for, long time too. So I think that it's the awareness, and also for me, it's also just knowing that we deserve, that it's okay, that we do deserve happiness in life. And I don't know if everybody believes that.
Oh gosh, well, that's a big one too. I mean, if you think about it, most humans have some place inside them that does not feel like they're enough or worthy. And it's interesting how you can move forward and go after your dreams while still knowing that is a piece of you. Like, it's not an either or, it's an and. So, and then also this conviction that you can have this other knowingness. Like, there's an intellectual knowingness, and then there's this kind of spirit heart knowingness. So intellectually, I can feel like I'm not enough, because I do feel that way quite awesome. But on the other hand, there's a piece of me that has this knowing, and believe me, this is fairly recent, that like, you know what? I'm super awesome. I'm actually a really cool person, and people are really lucky to know me, and I'm pretty lucky to know them. And it's not like it. Yeah. So there's something that occurs, but one thing that I know for sure is that it doesn't just happen. You have to tenaciously, persistently pursue it, because you can't take apart these pieces of yourself. Like I was just sharing with you, I've had this awareness around gaslighting. So even in the last few months, I've uncovered some beliefs that I held about myself that are not true, and that this is not software I installed. So since this programming was installed by someone else who did not have my good wishes in mind, it's much easier to dismantle, because now I see the source of them.
Yeah, and I guess that for me, I also want to have forgiveness, because I know that where some of my messages came from, they didn't have the awareness that I had. And of course, as we were growing up, I think we might be in the same age range, there was so much exploration. There was so much, all of a sudden we talk about things that we didn't talk about, and sharing and everything. And forgiveness has helped me a lot.
Yeah. And, it's kind of very Maya Angelou, like we can't do better until we know better. Yeah. But it's also like my mom was being the best mom she knew how to be, which was not so great, but she was doing her best, and she only wanted the best for me. She just had no idea that she was projecting all these conflicts onto me. So I call my parents the school of don'ts, because sometimes when you see really clearly how you don't want to be, it opens the door to kind of go a different direction, how you do want to be. So I don't even know if it's forgiveness. It's really, I mean, there's actually a space of gratitude. I finally got to a place in my life, and again, I wish this had happened earlier, where if my parents, unfortunately, they can't share this anymore, but there was a time in my life where if I had an idea and my parents poo-pooed it, I knew I was on the right path. Where 10 years prior, it would have completely ripped my heart out. I would have stopped. I would have not been able to continue on. I would have had this whole story about how they won't let me, but now it got to a point where I would just laugh and say, well, thanks for disapproving, because now I know that's exactly where I should go. Like, I moved to Florida. They for a decade, they tried to get me back up to the Northeast. And then they ended up moving down here. It's like, seriously.
No way.
So rather than fighting with them for 10 years, it was just like, well, I must be on the right path because you have a problem with it.
Isn't that funny though?
So this is something we all do. We all get to choose, like, how are we gonna integrate any input?
Yeah, and I guess that I also think about trust, because I know that I won't take another step. I would not be doing what I'm doing today if I didn't have some sort of trust, because I went
Mm.
way outside my comfort zone and listened to my heart for the first time in probably my life almost. And I have no regrets. But I will tell you that those messages come up. I mean, a lot of them come up as I'm going through this new, I guess you call it process or whatever, part of my life. And it comes up. And
Mm.
sometimes I get scared. And like you were saying, we are works in progress. And that's what I think is so great. There's, whatever we do, it's just so we can have this, maybe a framework that might help somebody at the same time. It's a
Right.
framework,
Mm.
it's our responsibility. We are 100% responsible for our actions. And, if we
Yeah.
want to take advantage of it, great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope if anyone ever hears this and is in that space that you speak of, that they really take a moment to drop into their heart and decide that they are worth something different. And that by golly, they're going to figure out what the heck that is. And even if it's only to be kind to yourself for today, and treat yourself. So many people that are in very dark places are very sensitive, very caring people, and they would never ever treat someone they love the way they're treating themselves. And so, I say that often to my clients is, treat yourself like your own best friend. And we're not gentle with ourselves. We're hard on ourselves. And that can be useful, but it can also be really detrimental.
Oh, absolutely. That is such a great point. You brought up a lot of great points, but especially that one, because I even did have to tell myself, because I say,
Yeah.
wait, are you hearing what you're saying to yourself, Jody? Yes, I do talk to myself. And, I'm like, would I say that to anybody? And I do, no. Well,
Right.
stop.
Yeah. Yeah, we're really hard on ourselves. And that's not a bad thing. It's what we do next that matters, not
Yeah.
what we've done before.
What do you see for business for entrepreneurs in the upcoming year? Do you have any feel for how we might be
Yeah,
doing
I mean,
business?
it's so funny. I have so many clients that are really doing great, right? There seem to be, I keep talking about this, there seem to be kind of three buckets of people, right? Business people right now. There's the people who are doing crazy good. They just had no idea that this would enhance their business. Then there's the people that are they're struggling, but they're still playing. And then there's the people that kind of got wiped out. So each of them is kind of approaching this from a different place. But we know, and I am somebody who I'm not great at, even though I do a lot of strategizing with my people and we do a lot of planning and creating and looking for opportunities and mining what's possible. We also know that things change really quickly. So the biggest thing in my mind is to be as flexible as you have ever been, if not more so. But then really to stay on course. Like don't go too far awry, don't give up. And just it's the same kind of thing that we've been talking about is how can we take what we know and then move into the unknown with some certainty and some faith that it will work out. And then what doesn't work out, we're willing to either shift and pivot, or recreate or reimagine or add a new revenue stream, or what is it that would help us now? And that may change. I don't think we know quite yet. When we look at restaurants and the theater business and so many people that have just been destroyed with all of this, I don't know how that's going to be reimagined, but you can bet that it is. And just like with anything else, this tenacity and persistence and determination and faith and trust and knowing like there is something on the other side of it. We've just got to stay in the game so that we get there. So for each entity, right, for each person, for each business, that's something different. Some people are going to be finding lower cost options for their clients. Some people are going to be finding higher. Some people are going to, I love to create, I call them peanut butter cups. So they're going to take something from here and something from here and create something new, or there's going to be a new collaboration, or there's somebody you haven't met yet that you can't wait to do business with, or there's some low-hanging fruit that you did not know you had. It's a great time to work with a coach and a strategist, as we are, because usually we can't see what we can't see. And it helps to have someone else who is unattached, who is unemotional, and can take the data and breathe life into it in a new way. So that's often a great place to start. But we'll see. We'll see.
Do you have a favorite quote that you could share with us?
Well, I have a couple that I use. So my favorite quote is the one that I made up, which is fitting in is not a recipe for success.
I love that.
So many, many years ago, when I first started in business, I started in New York City, and I had a lot of big corporate clients, and I was a graphic designer then. That's how I got into branding. And I was sitting in a meeting and looking around at these amazing women that I so sort of envied. They were so accomplished, and I thought, oh, they're so something. They're VP of something. And I thought, wow, this is so crazy. Like, I just told you my story about I was so dark and depressed, and now here I am sitting in this, boardroom, this conference room with these amazing people, and I'm here to teach them the value of not fitting in. And one of my biggest pains when I was a kid was not fitting in. And I carried that with me for so long. And now I'm so proud that I don't fit in. It just is not who I was meant to be. And what a crazy, like, if there is a God, what a crazy joke that that's what you put me through in order for me to then share with others this value. It's just, wow. So that's one of my quotes is, it's not a recipe for success. We each need to find our own recipe.
That's beautiful. In the last couple of minutes, could you please share what you do and how you can help people?
You mean what I do, like as in business?
Yeah, what you do. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
what you can do with
Okay.
it in your business and what you.
So
can
I
do.
call myself a brandologist, and that I consider to be the art and science of bringing our best to business. Because I believe that a brand is not a logo, it's not a tagline, it's the soul of your business, it's your entire business. And how we design that, right? How we create that is up to us, it's our choice. And when we do that in the service of and in the interest of contributing our best and highest good, then we are building businesses that matter. We are building businesses that will shift the world, and we are contributing. And if there was anything about I'm not worthy or I'm not enough, it will hack away at that, because you are here for a purpose. You are here to express your gifts through your work as an adult. That's our highest form of self-expression. We work many hours. So why would you not bring your best to that arena? And there is a science to it. So that's what I do. I mostly work with CEOs and business owners in the 7-figure business space to double their revenue and grow beyond their current ceiling.
And what a gift you're giving to so many, to the sectors, because we can, really, because, well, I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, it's a business. I mean, yeah, I get it. At the same time, I believe we are our business. Like you say, brandology. I mean, we are our business. I mean, what's comfortable for me might be different for you, etc. And I know somebody who wears red all the time because red's her business. That's you see that nail polish, it's her.
Mm,
And that kind of thing. And I think that what we're also bringing, and I know what I'm hearing from you, is that you're bringing a kind of thing that can be welcomed in corporate America and for all business owners, that we can really make the world a better place.
right.
Not like the Coke commercial where we just hold hands.
Right, right. Yeah. And, I know these are a lot of like quippy things, but they're true. Like success really is a team sport. So when we are a business owner or we are leading others or when we are a CEO of a business, it's gone are the days where we dictate to others what to do. We're not out digging ditches. We
No, we're not.
are working with others who have a lot on their plate, who have a lot going on. It's not easy to do well, to thrive, or even survive, but certainly thrive in this world. And we have I believe, a duty to those on our team to feed them as we feed ourselves. And that is how we all win. That is all how we change the world. As lofty as that sounds, we literally do it, one day, one increment at a time. And to work with people that are committed to that, to see value in that, who see possibility in that, who see that giving more is not taking away, and it's just it makes my life so full.
Wow, this has just been great. Thank you. I mean, the time is like going to zip by. I want to thank you so much, Jay Winslow, for being a part of Discover Magnificent You show. It's been a delight, and thank you for helping
Thank you.
light up our days. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.